Welcome to another episode of Offline with LopezRadio, episode 2. And this time around, we got my buddy, Slick Schultz. If you want to follow him on social media, it's at Slick Schultz. He is a fellow podcaster. He is an actor, a voice actor, and he's done a little bit of Twitch streaming, so he knows a little bit about this content creation thing. So today we talk about all kinds of stuff, including surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals for good support, for help, when you get stuck, for good feedback. These people are always good to have around, and why you might want to limit your contact with people who aren't supportive of the things you're trying to do. We talk about all that and more. It was so much that it was really tough to edit this episode down. And luckily, Slick stuck around for an episode of LopezRadio, which I'll have linked in the description below, as well as a way for you to connect and subscribe to the podcast if you want to do something like that. Speaking of, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you want to get in touch with me, it's at LopezRadio on social media. So reach out to me if you need something or if you got some questions. Otherwise, enjoy the episode. There as well, Slick. Welcome on to Offline.
Thank you for having me. It's been a while.
It has been a while. I can't wait to catch up on LopezRadio. We will be continuing our conversation after Offline over at LopezRadio. So be sure to pop over there and check that out. Slick, I want to talk about your creative process. You're an actor. You're a voice actor. You've dabbled in doing some streaming of video games, and you've also done some podcasting. So I kind of want to just kind of get in your head of what motivates you to kind of pick up the mic, what gets you going, stuff like that.
Of late, not so much. Been a lot of changes going on in life and stuff like that. So getting started, it's hard. You do come across social media and nowadays events happening, like current events and stuff like that. You're like, I need to talk about this because some people want to know your feedback on it, right, or your point of view of it, or how you feel about it. But lately, when I come up with the idea to talk about it, it doesn't come through for me to do it. Like, I'll sit down in front of the mics and be like, I don't want to do anything. So it's you got to get past that hump, because once I get started, then I'm golden. It's just getting the setup and starting to hit record and remembering everything that I need to talk about is hard. Like, I haven't got a chance to talk about anything that's happened in the last several months and give my point of view because of that. But it's like I said, once you get started, it's pretty easy to keep going. Once you hit that record button, you're good to go.
And I think that's the thing that stops a lot of people, right? Like, I've definitely had those days where I'm like, man, I'm scheduled to do a podcast with someone. I'm just like, man, my headspace is just not there, or I'm going to stream a game, or just anything that I want to do creatively. And you're just like, you get up to that point. I mean, it's kind of like going to the gym. Like, you really got to motivate yourself to go there. But like, once you're there, once you've hit start, like it feels so much better because you're in it. Now, like, people are either watching you on stream or you're in front of your guests. So you can't just be like, you know what? I don't feel like doing that. You can't just kind of bail on it, right?
Right.
I mean, you could. You'd be a giant asshole. But
I think what kind of also comes in the way is life. Like, there's podcasters out there like Joe Rogan, for instance. Yeah, he does other things, but for the most part, he's a podcaster. Like, that's what he does almost daily. So that's his job. Yeah. Right. That's his job. If I had to focus on just doing podcasting, it'd be a different story. But when I have, work, auditions, and anything else going on, it's just like, that's just another thing to add to the pile. And that kind of stops me from wanting to hit record as well. I'm like, I'm so tired. I just want to hang here and do nothing. I just want to stream, shows and I'm done for the day.
Right. You just want to check out and just kind of go on autopilot, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I'd say a lot of people deal with that. And that's part of what I want to do with Offline is I also want to talk to people who are maybe lapsed on their projects, right? Maybe they're just kind of taking a break or on hiatus, and just kind of be like, okay, well, what put you there? You said a lot, things in life, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the past 2.5, 3 years has really either put a damper on or started a lot of things for people. Because you have a lot of people that maybe were motivated to get out there and do a bunch of things on the road, or like things what we're doing now. Like, just so you guys know, we are live from a brewery called Camp Brewing, and it's a beautiful place. But 6 months ago we wouldn't do that. A year ago it was unheard of, right? So everything had to shift to online. So you had people who lapsed. You had people who started their thing because they were trapped in their house. They're like, I got to do something.
Yeah.
especially in the thing with Twitch or YouTube, like content creators blossomed at that point because there's so many people that couldn't just leave their house, you know?
Right.
And I think it's important to talk about like the things that get you kind of over that. Like what gets you motivated? Like, all right, so let's say, I know it's been a while since you've podcasted, right? So what would be the thing to be like, I need to jump back in this?
Just like I said, like, sometimes people want to hear your point of view. Those that do listen,
right?
I don't usually get very much feedback because of the listener base. I don't hear like talk about this, whatever. Occasionally, I do from friends back home. They'll be like, "What are your thoughts on this?" I'll be like, "Oh, it'll be on the next episode. Don't worry about it." But to get over that hump, it's hard. Like, I think having a co-host would really help a lot because when you have someone to talk to, it's a lot easier to do it. So like scheduling someone to come into the studio pre-COVID was easy. Like, it was a little difficult because some people don't live out in my neck of the woods. It's about a 45 to an hour minute drive, but they were down for it because it's pushing their own content, getting their name out there even a little bit. So having a co-host, I think, would definitely help push that. But doing it by yourself, there's that hump that it's so hard to get over.
Yeah, I find that like having a co-host definitely helps because you got someone else who wants to do the thing, right? Like and that's kind of like some juice to the motivation. I think too, and you might be able to back me up on this, surrounding yourself with like-minded people, right? Yes. People who want to do the same thing, have the same goals or similar goals, you know how like you're an actor, so you go to some of your classes, right? You go to some of those things and probably feel a lot more motivated when you're around people who are like getting after it, right?
Right. So like with acting, when you're in that environment, you have that support group. Like you have people that want to do the same thing as you, or they're doing exactly what you're doing in class, which is you're taking what they're providing and stealing it, because the best actors steal from other actors.
Sure.
They're not going to admit it. They're not going to say it potentially. Some do. They're just like, I took a little bit from this guy and that guy and this girl and put it together, But when you're there, you see it in person and you're like, that's really good. I would have done it a little bit different, but I like what they did there and I'm going to steal that.
And see also YouTube, see also TV, movies. I mean, so many movies and so many TV shows are influenced by, the director's influenced by a style that so-and-so did. Like, take the Batman, for instance. Clearly, this guy is a fan of Seven. It had those Seven vibes to it in a way that was like more of a homage than it was a straight up ripoff, but you could see it was there. And I don't think it's that bad of an idea. If you see something you like, and a lot of people who do YouTube say this, they're like, if you see something you like, don't straight up copy it, but take that idea and make it your own.
That's the art, is being able to take the idea and hide it very well, that people have to dig to figure out that it's, in the Batman's case, this is Seven.
Right.
This is exactly the same idea. This is that serial killer leaving clues behind kind of thing. But when you do a really good representation of it, people don't catch that right away. They have to dig through everything to find the core of that story.
Right.
And I think that's where you get new content comes from. You have to be able to take something and change it slightly enough that people don't understand that you took that. If you can't do that, then people are going to go, nope, I call bullshit. That's exactly what this is, and I don't like it anymore because it's not original. That's the other thing, is people are screaming for originality. I want new stuff. I want original stuff. I want, stuff that's not copying something else. But when you do that, when you hide it, they think it's new, until those that dig deeper go, you know what? I didn't even see this at first, but I can see how it is this now.
Yeah. Take any sitcom.
Yeah.
Like they are basically copying each other. So you've got The Office, let's say. Well, Superstore is just The Office in a retail environment.
Right.
Same type of characters, same protagonists.
Parks and Rec.
I mean, but they have their own flavor to it, right? They make their own, their own jokes, their own inside things, and they do a good job of making it the same but different. And I think that's important, because truly original things, most people don't like. Things that are so different, like say like a Tim and Eric, right?
Oh yeah,
Tim and Eric is like way out there, and just now you're seeing other people do similar stuff. Like think about even commercials, right? how ridiculous are Skittles and Old Spice commercials, but you remember them, right? And now everybody does really absurd, weird commercials that almost have nothing to do with their product. So I think copying, or not even copying, but I think taking influence and taking those ideas and using them in a way that's yours is super important, because it's what's going to keep you moving forward, but you almost still have to, as different as people want things, you still almost have to have that flavor of something familiar in order for people to be able to take it in.
Yeah, completely agree.
I think that when you don't allow yourself to take in that stuff that motivates you, or that you even see it when you're hanging out with people that maybe want to be like, I don't know if that's a great idea, because then you think maybe it's not a great idea, I won't do it. So,
it's a difference between shooting down that great idea and building on that great idea. Like, hey, that sounds great, but what if you kind of took this and tweaked it a little bit? I think it would be a little bit better, or a little bit more palatable to the audience.
Yeah, and that's the next step, right? Is like, okay, collaboration. That helps so much. Like you said, a co-host will help you a ton. And not everybody has access to a co-host, but luckily we're in a time where as long as you have a decent internet connection, you can have. I know two guys. Their podcast isn't around anymore, but the Unbecoming of Age podcast. It was two guys. One guy lived in Iowa. One guy lived in New York, and they had never met each other, right? And they did this amazing podcast together, and it was just literally them on their talking about the same stuff. They had similar views on life, but they had very different backgrounds, So it brought two different flavors to the same conversation,
right?
So if you've got somebody that maybe you have fun chatting with online, or maybe you play games with someone who's really fun to talk to, maybe create content together if you're aching to do that kind of thing.
I think that like what you said, like-minded, but I think at the same time, the different flavors is what makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Is if we may be on the same page of saying we like TV, but you like anime and I don't.
Right.
Or you like comedies and I like dramas. So at least you get that polar opposites to work off each other. Like, you could try to convince the other guy that this is great content and they're going to fight back. Like, I think that back and forth and not being on the same page, because that can get boring. Yeah. If everyone just agrees on everything, it's not the best.
I completely agree with you. That is great. That's a great point. I was going to make that point too. No, yeah, it's the big overarching theme that I've been thinking about this week anyway is surrounding yourself with those people who are like, yeah, that's a great idea, or it's a good idea, but you need some work on it. I try very hard, especially now that I'm a parent. Like, I'm trying to be very aware of being like, that's stupid. Like, to instantly be like, that's stupid, can demotivate someone from doing really great things, right? So unfortunately, sometimes that means, hey, I need to not be around this person as much, or I need to have a reckoning with this person, right?
Yeah, that's the challenge with being an adult. Right. Sometimes you have to cut ties, no matter how much you may not want to. It's not best for whatever situation it might be. It might not good for your health, might not be good for your mental health, might not be good for your business. Sometimes you just got to make those tough choices to say, listen, this is not helping.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm sure. So with something like acting, right?
Right.
You're completely around, like, so as you move project to project, you're hardly ever around the same exact people every time, unless you're on like a long running show or something.
Or you're
like
a favorite, like, let's say, the director uses the same actors over and over again, which is perfect, but they're so chameleon-like that they can be any character you need them to be.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, so how is that to adjust around, so say you work on a project and you've got great chemistry with certain people. You could even relate this to, I don't know, acting class. You got a group that works really well together.
Oh, we had that.
But
we had our Thursday class. We're all friends. Right. And then everyone else was very jealous about it. They're like, how come those guys are so close? It's like, because we just are. Like, we just like working together with each other. We like each other's company. But when it comes to getting used to that, I think it's all about the main thing that we always talk about in classes, which is you have to be able to take direction.
Yeah.
If you can adapt, you can do anything. You just have to be open to it. You get those stubborn actors that are just like, no, this is the way I want to do it, and that's the way I'm going to do it, and I don't care what anybody else says. I'm A-list, and I make the rules.
Right.
No, you have to be able to play ball, because guess what? You may be an A-list actor, but a studio, a director may not want to work with you if you act like an asshole.
Yeah. I mean,
if you put everybody else below you, everyone's going to say, this guy. I don't want to work with him. Or this girl, like she's too stuck up. She's too about herself. She's not a team player. And guess what? Movies, TV shows, that's a team effort. It's not just the person in front of the camera. It's the person behind the camera. It's the sound person. It's the director. It's the AD. It's the company that funds the actual project and gives you a paycheck. Yeah. If you can't work with them, they're not going to want to work with you.
Well, and that's something to be aware of as a creator, right? So especially if you're doing collaborations with people, like you don't want to be the person bringing down the room,
right?
Because that completely destroys the creativity, because now people are like, now I got to adjust to this. Some people are really good at adjusting to a bad situation, right?
Yeah. Like you should look at it like it's not my job. Like I've been trying to get over this for years when it comes to acting. When I'm doing a scene, if I notice continuity issues, say for liquid in a cup, or we used to be walking in this direction, I can't get that out of my head because I'm thinking about the whole project. Mm-hmm. But you need to be able to step back and be like, listen, that's not my job. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. That's their job. I don't want to look like an asshole when I say, hey, just so you know, it was up here. The liquid was here and now it's here. Can you fill it? They're going to get pissed if you keep pointing that out. So just do your job. What is my job? My job is to get the emotion correctly, the character correctly, and read the lines correctly. Right. And even if I don't read the lines correctly on paper, unless you're a writer behind the camera being like, no, I wrote it like this. That's how you're supposed to say it. Unless that happens, as long as you get the emotion of what's going on and the idea of what's happening in the scene, then you've done your job. So don't worry about everything else.
Yeah, that's all you can do, right? Like it's like I can't.
I don't know if I went off a topic there.
No. It's absolutely fine. I think that it's important to know that, because I think that there are people out there that I have done collaborations with that just don't know how to collaborate.
Right.
They're used to being the person that's got their hands on the wheel. And like they've got all the control. So when you're suggesting things, sometimes they're not open to it.
But if you want to take control of it yourself and do everything, if you want to be the writer, if you want to be the director, if you want to be the sound guy, if you want to be the actor, power to you. If you want to take on all those roles and you don't think you can work with other people because you can't collaborate, go for it. It's going to be a hell of a job, but go for it. If that's what makes you happy and that's how you process and that's how you work, go for it. I'm not going to step on your toes. I'm not going to insist on you doing something some way. Yeah. I'm going to give my advice like it would be easier if you got other people involved, but I can understand that maybe you just work better solo. Only you can see the actual outcome of whatever project it is you're doing. The podcast, the movie, the TV show. If you have a vision for it and it's not coming together and you're trying your hardest with this group of people and you think that you can do it by yourself because that's how you're going to get the vision, then go for it.
Right.
What's stopping you?
And that's important from the person that's coming in to help, right? That's important from someone who's just a collaborator, maybe not the main person that's coming in to produce this or do this thing. Like, so for example, we've been a guest on each other's podcasts. Mm-hmm. I've been a guest on other podcasts, and I've hosted several people. To me, it's so easy to be on someone else's podcast because all the pressure's off you.
You don't have to run the show. You don't have to press the buttons. You just stand there and talk.
Absolutely. I get to kick in and be like, what do you want to talk about, dude? Let's go. It's always fun to go on other people's projects and podcasts for me, because I'm just kind of like, all right, what do you want to talk about? What do you need me to say? If it's like some sort of like, scripted gig or something like that.
Yeah. As the podcast creator, you're the captain.
Right.
And I'm just going, I just, you tell me an order and I'll do it.
The only thing you had to bring today was your headphones.
Yeah, that's all I did bring.
Feels great, right?
Well, and my wallet, so I can get myself some drinks.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think that like the overarching theme here, especially for this episode, is find some like-minded people. Like, even if you're not going to actively do the thing, with them, find someone who's going to be like, hey, yeah, I can run some lines with you. I can give you some notes on this or that, because I think that not having that makes it 10 times harder. Because like you said, I've been in the same situation too, where you do a podcast, you put that episode out there and you hear nothing. Mm-hmm. And you're just kind of like, well, did that go over well? Yeah. Did I run off the 10
I see that it's been watched this many times, right, but no one said anything. No one gave me any kind of feedback. So I guess that I'm either doing something right or I'm doing something terribly wrong.
And I think that's one of the hardest things as a creator. Like, it's a little bit better when you're live streaming, because you have people in chat that can talk to you and give you kind of feedback on whatever it is you're talking about. And I think that was kind of the addiction I fell into, because I was getting that instant feedback that I wasn't getting when I was podcasting. So it just kind of pulled me that direction. But the hardest thing to do as a YouTuber, as a podcaster, as anyone who's created pre-recorded content, is to get feedback.
Right.
Why do you think every podcast you listen to, every YouTube you watch is saying, please rate, review, subscribe. Please click the button down below, ding the bell, all that stuff.
If you're liking it, yeah.
By the way, please subscribe, ding the bell, do it.
Ding that bell.
But I think that's a very tough thing, because as a creator, you want to, even if you're like, I don't care, I'm just going to do this and put it out there. It's still nice to hear that feedback.
Right.
It's still nice
even if it's mean.
Right.
And you can ignore it. They say with anything that you should just ignore the comments. Don't read the comments, because they're always going to be toxic. Unfortunately, that's the way it is now. Yeah. And you can ignore those, but even if they said, I don't like when you do that. Okay.
What do you want me to do?
It's still constructive. Yeah. Like, okay, someone out there doesn't like that I do this. And you can either do it of two ways. You can say, screw you, it's my show, I'll do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. Or you go, all right, I'll take that into consideration. Maybe I'll ease back on it a little bit, see what happens. And if people start hitting you up more saying, I missed that, then bring it back.
Right.
It's your show. It's your whatever. You do what you want to do.
There's a podcast that my wife listens to. It's called Let's Go to Court. And they basically just cover court like trials. Mm-hmm. And one of the hosts has like a really distinct laugh. And it drives some people crazy. But they even had like a whole segment on one of their episodes. Like, look, this is how I laugh. I'm not changing the way I laugh.
Right.
Like,
I can't stop it.
Get over it.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just change my laugh.
Like, there's people out there that hate Seth Rogen's laugh. It's iconic. Everyone knows it's Seth Rogen when he does it. And then there's another podcast I listen to as well called Tell 'em Steve Dave, which is Walter Flanagan. Mm-hmm. He was on Comic Book Men and stuff like that. Yeah. His laugh with his like when he does that, like it's like almost like a reverse snort.
Yeah.
People hate that, but that's the way he laughs. That's if you don't like it, don't listen.
Like, and that's the thing.
That's the thing too. It's that people don't want to turn it off. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't listen to it. There's so many podcasts, so many TV shows, so many movies out there that if you want to watch them, watch them. Yeah. But if you don't like it, then don't watch it.
That's another point we can make today. Like, even if you're getting bad feedback, even if you're getting people that are being really snide to you, maybe. You're still getting someone that's been watching you. Like, that's still very valuable in the fact that hey, that person may not like my laugh.
Right.
They're listening.
Yep. They're going to come back.
That feedback is valuable, and to kind of bring it back to the creative side of things, right? It's a thing that you should be seeking out. Whether it's bad, whether it's good. Now, there comes a point where sometimes people are just harassing you, but, for the most part, there's a lot of folks that just don't have the time to seek you out. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the time to do that. Or that sometimes it's just people, that's all they have the time for. Yeah. But the creative process is something that you really need to have, as we were talking about earlier, just people around you with the same ideas, maybe not the same exact ideas, but someone who's going to be like, hey, yeah, that sounds great.
There are Facebook groups out there now that are behind on podcasters, actors, musicians, anything that is out there. There are Facebook groups that will actually help you. As much as Facebook kind of sucks recently, people have all been disconnecting from it, the whole metaverse bullshit that they're doing. There are still a lot of support groups on that, as well as Reddit. Yeah. Like, go on Reddit, you'll find definitely groups of people that have the same look on life or situation as you do.
Just like terrible people can find like-minded people, right? To be terrible with, you can find people who are into the same things you are, and collaborate with each other,
right?
And people that will actually be. I feel like the internet gets the rap that you ever talk to people where they're just kind of like, man, all people are just horrible. Everybody's horrible. Like, you're kind of like, no, most people are probably pretty good. You just don't hear from them.
You hear from the bad people.
Right. Yep. And that's why, like, companies, that's why companies are always like, hey, be sure to see if we can get some feedback. That's why when you go to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or any of these places and they're like, hey, fill out this survey at the bottom and you get a free blah, blah, blah. Why do you think they're giving you a free blah, blah, blah? Because they want the good experiences too. Because who are the people who are most likely to complain? People with a bad experience,
right?
Because if I have a good experience at Dunkin', I'm not thinking about it the rest of the day. I got my coffee, I'm good to go, right? So it's super valuable. So there's a reason why we tell you to subscribe. There's a reason why we ask people, hey, what do you think about this? And it's hard because I think that when you're talking about content, and when you're choosing to be a creator of any sort, especially in the podcast world, the YouTube world, and even in the acting world, I'm sure, how deep is that pool? There are so many other people with the same goal. Like, oh yeah, I want to act in something too. Or, oh yeah, I want to be a big YouTuber too. So it's kind of like, you ever just sit back and realize there's so many things people are watching. I don't know how I would ever have the time to catch up on all this TV.
But the question in that, just like with the acting world, is we actually asked this at the very beginning of acting, and it should be the same with anything that you want to do, whether it's creating or whatnot. Why do you want to do it? You know, that was asked to us. Why do you want to be an actor? If you say you want to be famous, get out. This is not the job for you. This is not your career choice, because this is not what it's about. Acting is about something else.
Yeah.
You know, for me, would be getting big paychecks to work on something for 6 months be awesome? Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, who doesn't have financial burdens that they'd love to get rid of instantly by getting paid, you know, $60,000 to do a TV show, or, you know, $4 million to do a movie? Yeah, that sounds great. Buy my own house, you know, move wherever I want to move, do whatever I want to do. That sounds great. But if you're doing the content just to be famous, you're going to lose steam quick.
Yeah.
You know, you should be doing it because you love to do it. I love to entertain people. I get a kick when I get people laughing at me, telling me that I did a great job. It's fantastic. I love giving people that escape from life, to get invested in the TV show, to get invested in the podcast, to get invested in a voiceover, even. As odd as that might sound. Yeah. If it's a TV show or a movie and, you know, well, let's say animated film, that makes more sense.
Sure.
That you're the voice actor and they love what you're doing or what you sound like, or you bring them back to childhood. That to me is all the marbles right there. Do I love to create new things? Sure. Do I have a process for that though? Like some big actors do? No, I just kind of do it. Like what exactly is it that I'm trying to accomplish here? But if you're trying to say that you're starting a podcast or a YouTube video because you want to be huge and popular, you're going to run out of steam. You need to come up with something that you're like, hey, if this became popular and became my day-to-day life, that'd be perfect. That's what I want to do. I want to do this for the rest of my life, you know, and that's great. If you want to do it for that aspect, like this is what I enjoy and this is what I want to do, cool. But just make sure that it's something you enjoy doing. So if it's the videos on YouTube, make sure it's something you can continue to do for years to come. Because if you are doing it just to be famous, after the first maybe year, you're going to have nothing to fall back on because you're not going to find it enjoyable anymore. It's going to be a job as opposed to your career.
But, you know, we're about to wrap up. But like the thing I will say is like it's a lot of self-awareness. It's a lot of recognizing when you're actually done with something or recognizing if you're just having a bad day.
Right.
You know, because I think some people get wound up in that, like, what's wrong with me and stuff like that. It's like nothing wrong with you. Like you're human, you're fickle, and take even the advice that you hear here, which isn't even really advice. It's just two people talking about being creative. Take those things and take anything you see out of how to get views on Twitch, YouTube that you're going to watch later, and just take them with a grain of salt. You know, it's not gospel. It's just what worked for this one person, or what this one person thinks works. You know,
right. I mean, if you want some advice, I can give you some advice from an actor that his biggest thing is I was on that Walking Dead show one time and he didn't even know it was me. And that is, don't give up. Yeah. Like it's continue to be persistent. Try. Go after what you love to do and don't stop. If you love it, you should be doing it all the time. Don't let anybody get in your way. Continue to do it and change your output from being no to why not? Yeah. Why not try it? You may discover something about yourself. You may discover something about the thing that you love that you didn't know before. Continue to be persistent. Go after what you love and don't give up.
And I'm sure there's people too that like in that case where they're like, I want to be an actor, and they go do this and they realize, oh, maybe I'm not really that.
Yeah. I don't like showing my emotions. I hate to break it to you. Acting's all about emotion.
But maybe they realize I'm more of a behind the scenes person. I want to know what production's all about.
Right. I love playing with the cameras and, whatever.
I was watching the cinematographer like set up a shot.
Right.
And you're like, this is crazy. This is great. Or the lighting guy or the sound guy. Like there's a reason why those people are doing that thing because they enjoy it.
And how many actors do you know that have turned into directors? There's a bunch of them out there.
So many.
So at some point they just kind of get tired of doing the thing and they just want to try something else, and they realize directing is amazing. Maybe they didn't know how to do it at the start.
Yeah.
They had it in the back of their mind, like, I love to do this, but this is what I'm good at. And they stayed with the acting part and they never pursued the directing part until they realized over many years of doing their career that now I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I feel confident sitting in that chair with the headphones on and telling people what to do because I know now. I've been on all sides of it.
And also think about this. Why have you seen so many directors that haven't acted in their own films?
Yeah.
Because they know they know what they're good at this point. Like, especially directors that
Mm-hmm.
you know, Spielberg or something like that.
Yeah.
They just know what they're good at. So that's why they stick to that. And they're like, I can bring in the people that are going to blow this out of the water.
Right.
So just think about that when you're going out there, when you're deciding whether to create, whether you're deciding to just even continue creating, you know, sometimes think about those shifts, think about all that stuff. But I want to thank Nick for being on the show, or thank Slick, sorry, for being on the show. At Slick Schultz for all social media. We're going to continue our conversation over at Lopez Radio. There will be a link in the description below to that episode, and then you'll be able to get it wherever you get your podcasts. But thanks for being on, dude.
Thank you for having me.
Keep talking. It's been too long.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Get out there and create something.